Early on when I became minister, somebody prophesied over me that they saw in me somebody who would be both a priest and a prophet. One who would be a priest in that he comforts the afflicted, and one who's a prophet in that he afflicts the comfortable. And sometimes I think I got a mix of that. I'm a fierce opponent of bureaucracies that don't work, of drug dealers that abuse people for their own profit, and make no apologies for it. And for basketball, used to be able to take them all three on. Now my oldest is 6'6". He towers over me. So any one of them can beat me on their own now. There was a day I could take all three of them on at once and still win. I don't want them to think that, oh, Harry's so impressive, we could never do something like him. A lot more people could be doing this stuff I'm doing if they just let themselves loose to follow their passions.
Go anywhere in Winnipeg's West End and ask about Reverend Harry Lehotsky, and you'll get responses as varied as the people giving them. A store owner may call him an urban saint, a resident may find him an outspoken neighbor, a prostitute may say the minister's merely a friend. For the past 23 years, Lehotsky has worked to turn things around for the better in the once deeply troubled inner city. He's had failures, but more successes, his healing handprint visible all over the neighborhood. New Life Ministries, the heart of Lehotsky's community work.
Why would you wait? Why would you hang back?
He built the Maryland Street Baptist Church from scratch in 1983. Sunday morning services were decidedly smaller back then, Lehotsky musing he could only get 3 people to say maybe to showing up. So instead of getting worshipers to come to him, he decided to go to them. But that's when his religious mission took an unexpected secular turn.
All of a sudden people started coming out with things. Education, they're concerned about schooling for their kids, safety. How am I going to be safe going to the grocery store? Housing, my house is falling apart, who's going to help me? Basic questions of life. And then I started to see there's a lot of good I can do outside the church. And at that point, all kinds of neat opportunities presented themselves.
Lehotsky looked into the inner city housing shortage and saw a golden opportunity in the growing number of derelict homes wasting away in the West End. Lehotsky convinced the city to donate a repossessed, rundown house to eventually sell to an underprivileged family. After 2 hard years of work, it was renovated, and an inner-city housing revolution took flight. Lehotsky's Lazarus Housing has now renovated more than 20 homes, and as Nehemiah Housing has established more than 100 transitional housing units across the inner city, a feat even his wife, Virginia, had her doubts about.
The first time we walked through the apartment block next door, I said, you have got to be kidding me. This is, no way are we going to take this on. Oh, yeah, we can do this. And this is the guy that when he would come home and I'd tell him the dryer was broke, he'd go, oh no, but renovate a whole apartment block? Sure, no problem.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get you into a better place. I'm still checking if...
In February 2005, Lehotsky opened the Ellis Cafe, what he describes as an affordable yet stylish hangout where people from all walks of life can feel welcome. Cheers without the booze, if you will.
People from different parts of the city interacting and comfortable with each other. You can have business people right next to maybe somebody who's a prostitute. You just can sit down and you just start talking to people, and it's really nice. Like, it just makes it homey, right in a neighborhood that a lot of people picture as cold and distant.
Lehotsky's hands-on approach to his projects is especially evident here, often playing dishwasher or waiter when need be. But his favorite moments spent in the cafe...
Soup kitchen.
She starts that early all the time?
No, she just likes to go early.
She just likes to go, okay.
...are those with his friends, and there are many. And also making sure those who can't afford to eat can. Lehotsky gives this card to people living in his transitional housing units, good for a discounted meal at the cafe.
It's a place of warmth for me, and sometimes when I don't have a lot of strength to go out and do a lot of projects, I'll just come in here and sit, and people come by and we talk about stuff, and that's really what matters most.
Next door to the cafe, the refurbished Ellis Stage and Movie Theater.
Some of the ornamental work on the side had gotten damaged, and then the roof in some places had collapsed. There was water coming in.
Thanks to Lehotsky, the once abandoned theater now provides performance space for budding artists and entertainment to those who normally can't afford it. The theater is rented out for free to performers in exchange for free tickets to their show.
The whole person has to be able to enjoy life in a place. And so you have a good, safe place to live. So whether it's home ownership renovations we're doing, or else we're doing the safe rental and transitional housing, we do that, and then a place to eat where you can relax with friends, invite company over to this part of town and be proud of it. A place to have some entertainment. It's a well-rounded community, like any other community. You know, we just want to see those spaces here.
And so Lehotsky devoted his life to trying to add a little beauty to the lives and the neighborhood around him. All this with no construction experience and very little government funding. But it would be Harry Lehotsky's final challenge that would prove to be the greatest of his life. Stay with us as Saving Grace continues.
So for living room, dining room area, it's really kind of neat that way. So it's a little tight here.
Spend a couple of hours with Harry Lehotsky and you'll discover a few things. He uses language common among teens, neat, cool, and awesome, often punctuating his frank and to-the-point comments. His excitement and genuine wonder in the world around him can almost be described as childlike as well, as can his energy level, which puts most anyone's to shame. Definitely part of the reason Lehotsky's been able to achieve so much in so little time.
Today is better than yesterday. Yesterday I just had a lot of pain that was coming through.
Mid-May 2006, Lehotsky got word his body wouldn't be able to keep up with his ambitions. After months of increasing abdominal pain, tests confirmed the ulcer one doctor had diagnosed Lehotsky with was actually pancreatic cancer. Worst of all, it had already spread and was inoperable. Doctors gave him 6 weeks to 9 months to live.
People come over and they'll just start crying, and I cry because I'd rather be around. I thought we were all going to be getting old together, you know, and then to think it may not last. Some days I have hope that I'm going to get healed. I can almost see it. And other days I feel like, yeah, it's going to be going pretty quickly. And that part is hard. I just want to make sure people are taken care of. I guess that's my biggest thing. My kids are going to be all right. And everything I've seen so far leads me to believe that they will be.
This wasn't the first time Lehotsky would come face to face with his mortality, a drug overdose nearly taking his life when he was 16 and walking a very different path.
I was with people I thought were my friends, and those friends got so scared when I OD'd that they thought I was going to die, and they didn't want to get stuck with the dead body in the car. So instead of taking me to a hospital or something, he just stopped the car and rolled me out and left me to die.
Despite a good upbringing by his immigrant parents, Walter and Hildegard in Queens, New York, Lehotsky fell deep into the drug trade in his early teens, abusing and dealing. Ironically, the cops he was trying to dodge daily back then saved him the day he OD'd.
That day, when I was in the hospital, I made a promise to God. God, if you get me out of this somehow, I'll give you the rest of my life.
But Lehotsky had a rough start to his new life.
I started going back to some of the people I sold to before. And first, my faith was I was trying to atone for my own sins, basically, saying, whoever I turned on to the drugs, I got to talk them out of it. With the big Bible in hand, I'm ready to hit them over the head with it, right? So a stereotypical evangelist, but it was wrong. I needed to just relax and say, you know what? I just need people to know that there's hope to change.
Lehotsky decided to pursue his education. He spent 7 years in seminary and passed with flying colors, aside from his preaching class, where he ironically got low marks for that teenage-like casual slang. Next step, finding a church to serve in, an inner-city church. This is when Winnipeg came calling.
I saw a neighborhood that was struggling, yes, but still had a lot of hope. And so this is where I wanted to come. Any belief, any philosophy finds its ultimate test on the streets of the city. Any political ideology, whatever, any faith perspective, it gets tested here like nowhere else.
Lehotsky's passion for the inner city not only came from his own upbringing in Hell's Kitchen, but from one of his role models, Hell's Kitchen Reverend Walter Rauschenbusch. His teachings about social responsibility to the weak and powerless formed the basis of Lehotsky's future work. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Desmond Tutu also credit the pastor as a major influence.
If I can get into someplace in the inner city and do some good there, that's all I want to do with the rest of my life.
And so, New Life Ministries was born, a modest church in its first incarnation. At the time, however, a good deal of Lehotsky's work was being done outside its walls.
You can follow blood trails through the neighborhood from whoever had a fight, and sometimes on our prayer walks through the area, we'd follow blood trails to the houses where they led to or emanated from, and sometimes you could still see where a person eventually collapsed.
Lehotsky followed those trails, some leading to drug houses and gang hangouts. What he would do next in front of those places was unprecedented and dangerous.
The guys were yelling, hollering out the window, "What are you idiots doing?" And a few more words thrown in, but he said, "Don't worry about it, we're just praying for you." You're what?
These became known as Lehotsky's prayer walks, and while they were well-intentioned, they were not always well-received. Virginia Lehotsky recalls one incident when angry massage parlor employees came knocking while her husband was away.
I think it was my neighbor. The next day she told me that there were a bunch of, I think they were women that wanted to be working in these massage parlors that had actually come into our front yard and were, I don't know what they were going to do.
The sudden attention brought by the minister to their doorsteps forced the drug dealers, the pimps, and the gangbangers to relocate. Mission 1 accomplished. The riffraff was moving out. Mission 2 in progress. Not all the drug abusers, gang members, and prostitutes were dropping their bad habits. Mission 3 then became obvious. Turn the now vacant drug dens and gang houses into dream homes for underprivileged families. A very big and difficult job in some cases. Ralph Mueller helped head up Lazarus Housing, opting to put a lucrative home renovation business on hold to raise houses from the dead with Lehotsky for a lot less.
The worst of the worst is what we wanted to get.
Homes that were falling apart, full of human and animal waste and used drug needles. The first house Lazarus tackled on Furby Street was in such poor shape, it was purchased for only $5,000.
We had one meeting in here where there were literally 5 city inspectors from different departments who came in, and they looked around and said, "Oh, no, you can't save this place."
Even tradespeople had to be convinced to work in the West End, convinced homes here were worth fixing up.
People laughed at me in meetings when I suggested we'd sell this house for $55,000 7 years ago. I was literally mocked. And we did sell it for $55,000, and people never got their heads around the idea that this area might command $100,000, and you can get that here now.
Lehotsky's quest to improve the neighborhood didn't stop at housing. He often confronted pimps and prostitutes, and even Johns, taking pictures of them and writing down their license plate numbers. Eventually, the Winnipeg Police Service adopted the idea and created Operation Snapshot, posting video clips of sex trade transactions on the internet.
Made us more focused on what the real problems were, the real problems of the neighborhood, and that was the drugs, the prostitutes.
It didn't take long after starting on the job for Constable Greg McGregor to hear about Lehotsky's crusade against crime in the West End.
Pretty brave, pretty brazen at times, and at times you think, why would somebody do that?
Now his beat, McGregor says he's often relied on Lehotsky to tell him what's going on in the dark corners of the Corps.
I wish I could get half the respect that he does of everybody on the beat. He's opened my eyes a lot and made me understand a lot the problems of the people, not just from a police perspective, but from a community perspective.
These successes went a long way to reassuring Lehotsky's wife, Virginia, she made the right decision moving from the farm in Sioux Falls into the inner city to raise a family.
Okay, just let them know we're going. Okay, take care.
When we first came here, I said to Harry, promise me that we're going to be out of here in 5 years. And he said, I can't do that. And I said, okay, 10 years we're out of here. He said, okay. Well, by that time, I was quite comfortable here.
But outside Lehotsky's circle, criticism, sometimes harsh. People questioning his chosen crusades, methods, and even successes. Questions that fueled the man's passions even further, but also, like anybody else, dropped him deep into despair and self-doubt. Saving Grace continues in a moment. Urban saint or lunatic? The question has been debated in the media as well as in the mind of Harry Lehotsky himself.
There were different people who didn't like things for different ways. Some of it was the methodology, some of it was Harry's panache to call people on the carpet and to point out where they're failing, or where, maybe not they're failing, but maybe where they could do things a lot better. A lot of people don't like that.
Politicians, police, social agencies, and even neighborhood residents were among those who publicly criticized Lehotsky's quest to clean up the West End. One especially tough day, the brave crusader experienced a great moment of weakness.
Went out in the garage in a moment of stupidity, with the door closed, started the car and thought, I'm ready, I'm done. I'm just tired. I let the car run for a while. As the car was running, I had this picture in my mind of meeting Jesus, and of him saying to me, this is how you want to come meet me? I thought about it for a while there with the car running, the door closed, and just said, no, Lord, I'm sorry. This is not how I want to come meet you. I went back in the house, asked Virginia's forgiveness, and decided I'm not going to chicken out anymore.
Lehotsky pushed on, expanding projects and creating new ones like Connect 2, a program providing free private voicemail, which has helped the phoneless find employment and housing, logging an astronomical 30,000 calls per month.
These are non-politicians talking. So
Lehotsky even tried his hand at politics in 1999, running for the Provincial Conservative Party. But after finishing second, Lehotsky directed his attention to the creation of the Ellis Cafe and Theatre. Not only does the neighborhood hangout bring in people from the street, it gets people off the streets. The goal of the cafe and theater is to employ West End residents, especially those in need of a second chance.
When we first came here and started this church, there was nothing happening. And it just, I mean, if you would have told me that we had all these things going on that we have going on now back then, I would have just thought, never.
But his wife Virginia, oldest son Matthew, and twin boys Jared and Brandon say despite everything their father was involved with outside the home, he was never missed inside it.
He's always been there for us, any kind of problems and stuff, you know, like he's busy, but I don't think I would change anything about the way he's parented us. We've grown up to be smart kids, and you know, we're street smart, and we've grown up in this inner city our whole life, and we're not naive about things.
Every once in a while we'd have Dad and Me days during the summer where we'd just cart him around and tell him what we wanted to do, like whether it was going to Fun Mountain or going to a movie or going to an arcade. It was always really fun.
Some of the best family time together is spent watching or playing sports or shooting off fireworks, one of Lehotsky's favorite hobbies.
No, yeah, it's a thing he loves to do. Our church will have a retreat out in the Whiteshell, and well, yeah, we'll shoot them off. Yeah, they know Uncle Harry's going to shoot off fireworks. And they enjoy that.
Well, I couldn't be more proud for anybody else except for him. So, I mean, he's done a lot, and I've been asked that question a couple of times, and I can't really find words to explain that, but I love him very much, and he's done a lot, and for sure.
And like her sons, Virginia Lehotsky knew the nights spent alone and vacations missed were a sacrifice well made, all for a better life for the family and their community.
I'm thankful that I've had him as long as I have. I want it to be a lot longer. He'd be a really good grandfather to those kids.
Living so openly in the public eye through the years, it could only follow Lehotsky's cancer crisis would be a public affair as well. In the days and weeks following the bleak diagnosis, tributes, awards, and fundraisers were organized to recognize Lehotsky's lifelong achievements. A mural featuring highlights of his work in the West End and his signature mullet and beard painted onto the side of one of his transitional housing buildings.
All I've been doing is making sure our family and our neighborhood is safe, doing whatever I can. To be acknowledged for that now, after 23 years, is actually pretty cool, and I'm thankful.
The support of the community in the months after Lehotsky's diagnosis cleared the debt on the Ellis Cafe and theater, and even his home.
I'm not afraid of death. I gotta tell you honestly, I'm a little afraid of dying. I don't know how painful it's gonna be. You know, I mean, even if there's a miracle that comes and I'm healed from cancer, that'd be awesome. I hope they don't want their money back from this fundraiser. Because I ain't giving it back. I'm so infuriated with God. Yeah, I don't want people to be angry with God. I am not.
Unable to personally respond to the flood of emails, letters, cards, and general outpouring of support, Lehotsky kept in touch through his weekly column in the Winnipeg Sun. Rather than detailing the battles on the streets of his neighborhood, he shared his struggles with cancer, the good days and the bad, always with complete honesty.
It's a scary thing to do that, to be on a journey, to be growing in public, but to be doing it so personally that it brings other people along with you. It takes a great deal of courage. I really admire that.
About 6 months after being diagnosed, at 12:30 a.m. November 11th, Harry Lehotsky passed away peacefully here in his West End home. He was surrounded by his family, who he had often called his greatest accomplishment in life. He was 49 years old.
I'm thankful for where I'm going, and I just pray that I'll get to see many more of you again. And I guess that's what it all comes down to. Not just the goodbyes, but hopefully see you again. And bless each one of you as you find your way there.
Volunteers have stepped forward to carry on the work Lehotsky started, the city and the province hoping to encourage more community activism and establishing awards in Lehotsky's name. But New Life Ministries pastor Larry Gregan admits his colleague and friend's shoes are big ones to fill.
It's one thing to have somebody able to articulate a vision and you pause for a moment and go, yeah, okay, I get that. It's a whole other thing to be the person who puts that together for others.
Lehotsky's ultimate vision, a community in harmony. And while that is a job bigger than one man, those who knew him or even just knew of him agree he came as close as one man could get to achieving his dream.
It's very difficult with you when you got high crime and that you feel alone, whereas I think he's given a lot of peace of mind to people that they feel that they aren't by themselves.
There's a lot of people in this neighborhood who are here because of Harry, and there's a lot of people who are going to give their lives to this community and to this city because of him.
He has the courage to speak because he seems to operate from a principle deep in his being that bears witness always to the good, the true, and the beautiful, which cannot be silenced.
What he has done will speak for generations. I mean, there's families that most people don't even see or even know about, and stories that that he has families he's affected in the West End.
Harry is saying with his message, there's hope and there's a future with hope for people.
And so Lehotsky will be remembered for his accomplishments as an activist, rabble-rouser, pastor, father, and a friend, but perhaps most importantly as a sinner who made the choice to be saved.
As he walked through life, he kind of gathered these things and made it his own kind of a concept to live by and to do the best he can. And things we never suspected he will do, he did it in Winnipeg and worked out for the good. And we're proud of that, especially proud.
No, I don't have any regrets. Like I say, I wish in some ways, I have wishes that we could have had more time together as a family, that kind of stuff, but you know what, we've had enough to know how precious life is.
Most murders happen around drug houses, around the drug trade, around the sex industry, on the streets, and we have to lower our tolerance to this stuff and focus on the problem and see it as a problem.
You work for 19 years in a neighborhood trying to do stuff, and you work with people, you talk to them, then they go home to what? Some kind of a dump, some kind of a hole somewhere, and to me the money represents not just bricks and mortar, but the chance to turn a hellhole into something that's nice to live in.
It says in Scripture, woe to those who cry out, peace, peace, where there is no peace. Let's not deceive ourselves, let's be really and sometimes just brutally honest about what's happening and not happening in our communities. And then step forward and make it happen.
So over 18 years, there's been changes in different directions, but now finally I feel like we've hit the tipping point and we're going to start slipping over to the positive again.
Be looking for the stuff that Christ created you for, the good works that He's prepared in advance for you to do. Whether you're a Christian or not, God has prepared wonderful things for you, and I just pray that you keep your eyes open for that.
And tomorrow, when we see bad stuff going down, we'll stop it. Where we see good stuff happening, we'll support it. Harry would say, that's cool. That's really cool. Harry, you're cool. You're really cool.
We've had a good life, lots of friends, and if it ends now or if it goes a long time yet, I'm happy for what I got.